You're in the meeting, still there, still waiting. You know this matters, but nothing arrives. A wall between you and the feeling. The inner citadel. The inner citadel, naming what neuroscience confirmed. Not depression, not failure, a survival response. Your nervous system stopped feeling safe. That's all. Stephen Porges, neuroscientist, mapped this in 1994. He called it Polyvagal Theory, 3 circuits. This explores psychological concepts, not medical advice. The vagus nerve runs 3 circuits, not 1. Ventral vagal, social safety, connection, feeling possible. Sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, mobilize, danger. The 3rd circuit is older than both. Dorsal vagal shutdown. The freeze, older than mammals. The body mimicked death when threat was total. Reduced heart rate, muscular collapse, apparent calm. What observers call composure, the body shutting down. Porges didn't discover something entirely new then. He named what millions of 40-year-olds were living. You function, you appear fine, by every visible measure. What isn't visible, you haven't felt moved in months. Robert Sapolsky, neurobiologist at Stanford, studied chronic stress. Decades of cortisol rewire the stress regulation system. At midlife, the system stops releasing after alarm. The freeze consolidates gradually, over years of pressure. One morning, the feeling doesn't come back. There's a reason this intensifies between 40 and 50. Polyvagal Theory and Jung mapped this from different directions. The convergence changes the entire picture of what's happening. But first, what's actually happening inside your body? The vagus nerve is 80% afferent. Your body informs your brain about safety constantly. Porges named this neuroception, unconscious safety surveillance. It scans for danger before your thinking mind weighs in. 40 years of performance taught, perform is safe. Genuine feeling became what the system flagged as risk. The body traded efficiency for aliveness without a contract. Bessel van der Kolk documented this across thousands of sessions. The body keeps the score, map what psychiatry missed. Unprocessed emotion encodes in the body, not memory. Every time you chose function over feeling, the body filed. At 45, the filing system reaches its limit. Flatness, the wall between you and experience. Van der Kolk calls this functional dissociation. Mainstream self-help misses this and makes the freeze worse. Mind-based interventions reach a different floor entirely. Dorsal vagal shutdown is a state, not a thought. Deb Dana translated Porges for clinical practice. Dana's ladder, ventral at top, dorsal at bottom. Most over 40 have lived somewhere on that ladder. If this maps your internal architecture, you're not alone. Lisa Feldman Barrett adds what polyvagal theory doesn't address. How emotions are made, 2017. Emotions are predictions. The frozen body predicts flatness as the baseline. What stopped us cold in the Barrett research? The body stops predicting any other state is available. Flatness stops being visited. It becomes the assumed normal. This is where talk therapy consistently fails to reach. We should acknowledge this framework is incomplete. Grossman raised methodological questions about vagal tone measurement. The core 3-circuit model holds across replications. Chronic midlife stress compromises ventral vagal accessibility. Now we reach the layer that changes everything. Jung was writing about the body decades ahead of neuroscience. When we encountered this passage, it stopped us cold. Jung wrote at 62 not as theory, as confession. The body is the shadow's preferred channel. Emotional numbness, Jung recognized this as shadow signal. Something essential is asking to be seen. 3 frameworks, 3 centuries, all the same territory. This is the convergence. and it reframes everything. The freeze is not depression, not permanent. A nervous system doing what 40 years trained it. Jung, the body is the shadow's preferred messenger. When the psyche won't listen, the nervous system speaks. The freeze isn't silence, it's the loudest signal available. He wrote this in 1957, before neuroscience had instruments, the undiscovered self, the part performance cannot touch. What your numbness asks for isn't medicine, it's attention. Jung's enantiodromia, what suppressed breaks through its opposite. Midlife body crisis is often shadow arriving to the physical. Not every pain is Jungian shadow. We want clarity. Numbness, then physical symptoms, then forced stillness, documented. The body compels what the will refused. Now Stoicism enters, not where you'd expect it at all. Popular culture reads Stoicism as suppression, push through. That reading explains why Stoic advice makes the freeze worse. Epictetus taught the distinction between power and not power. Prohairesis, the Stoic faculty of choice. Reclaiming response requires first acknowledging what the body feels. Marcus Aurelius was practicing ventral vagal activation. His morning practice, stillness, reflection, breath before the day. Meditation's book IV opens with the question of acting naturally. The Stoic answer, embodied practice, attention to the body. Epictetus practiced breath regulation, cold exposure, deliberate discomfort. 2,000 years of observing what actually worked. Polyvagal theory explains the mechanism behind why those work. Slow exhalation activates the vagus nerve towards safety. A regulated nervous system nearby, the same effect. Humming and chanting activate vagal safety signals directly. The Stoics practice prosody, deliberate attention. The convergence, polyvagal plus Jungian shadow plus Stoic prohairesis. 3 traditions, 3 vantage points, same exit. Your emotional numbness is evidence of competence, not damage. Your nervous system were to protect you, exceptionally well. The reframe, your protection has outlived its original threat. A frozen nervous system can learn something different. The conditions are specific, not willpower, not more productivity. Biological conditions for safety, what your system awaits. The practice begins here as physiology, not motivation. The first condition, co-regulation, what Porges documented. The nervous system learns safety from regulated proximity. Porges documented this through autonomic nervous system measurements. Midlife isolation accelerates the freeze rather than allowing recovery. The executive who achieved everything and connects with no one. She ran sympathetic activation too long. Ventral vagal atrophied. Second condition, intentional body-based practice, specific vagal activation. Epictetus, some things are in our power. Breathing is one. Slow exhalation shifts you from freeze back to safety. He didn't know the word polyvagal, but he practiced it. Prohairesis begins in the body, not the mind. 4 deliberate breaths. Slow inhale. Extended exhale. This is what we mean by weaponized philosophy. The third condition, what Jungian practice uniquely provides. Inquiry into shadow's message. What was freeze protecting? Individuation means metabolizing what was stored, not eliminating discomfort. The practice, evidence partly clinical, partly experiential. Tonight, place your hand on your chest. Notice. 4 breaths. Extended exhale twice the inhale. Complete this sentence. The feeling I've most avoided is, don't edit, don't assess. The shadow speaks first drafts. Active imagination in Jungian work, but simpler. Not producing insight, creating conditions for insight to arrive. Genuine co-regulation requires a somatic trained therapist nearby. Polyvagal informed therapy works differently than talk therapy. If this resonates beyond intellectual interest, follow that signal. You were promised meaning would follow the life you built. The meaning didn't follow. The vehicle had frozen. The meaning is there. Pathway runs through your nervous system. What we've mapped is a framework. The territory is yours. Something essential survives that performance cannot reach or destroy. It's not lost, it's in freeze. Freeze is not permanent. Epictetus, born into slavery, practiced internal sovereignty, not despite his circumstances, because he had studied the terrain. The inner citadel is not absence, it is genuine presence. The deeper work goes beyond this single video. Next episode, the somatic shadow work protocol in full. This channel is built for exactly this depth of inquiry. The question we leave: what did the freeze protect? That question is the beginning. Full breakdown pinned in comments.